Hello friends, today I want to talk about how long you can leave Montenegro if you have a residence permit. There are certain limits and I decided to address this topic because there are a lot of myths surrounding it. Some people say you can leave only for 30 days, others say 90 days, some claim that company directors are not affected at all, and so on. So let's take a look at what is actually correct. In fact, to answer this question, we need to read the law on foreigners. I have written out the articles that are relevant to us. These are Article 65, Article 38, and Article 86. Let's start our analysis with Article 65. This article examines the cases in which a residence permit ceases to be valid. For example, point 1. If its validity expires, the residence permit is issued for a period of 6 to 12 months. It varies depending on the grounds. Usually it's 12 months. So if 12 months have passed, if you were issued a residence permit for 12 months and that period has ended and you haven't renewed it, then it ceases to be valid. Second point, the basis on which it was issued is no longer valid. But again, for example, you opened the company on that basis, received the residence permit, and then decided to close the company. Accordingly, you no longer have grounds for your residence permit to remain valid. It is terminated. And the third point, which is directly related to the topic of this video, if during the validity period of your residence permit you were absent from Montenegro for more than 30 days, exception. If the foreigner notifies the police, they may be absent from Montenegro for up to 90 days. So basically you can leave for up to 30 days without any issues, but if you want to be absent for more than 30 days but not more than 90, you just write a statement in free form and submit it to the MUP. The statement is submitted in 2 copies. They keep one, and on the second one they put their stamp and signature, then give it back to you. You should carry it with you or keep it somewhere safe so that if needed you can show that you weren't absent without reason and that you really did notify the police. It's very easy to do and takes literally just a few minutes. So for now we can make a preliminary conclusion that you can be absent for up to 90 days. But let's keep listening. Also, in the same article of the law, it states, a residence permit also does not cease to be valid for foreigners who obtained their residence permit on the basis of Article 38.13 of the law on foreigners, provided that the foreigner has not exceeded 90 days of absence from Montenegro. So for some people it is allowed to be absent for up to 90 days, and you don't even need to submit an application to the Ministry of Internal Affairs for this. Who does this apply to? Let's look at this article, this point they are referring to. Article 38.13. It covers various grounds for obtaining residence permit, meaning for property owners, for employees, including company directors, and so on. So point 13 states that a residence permit can be obtained in other cases in accordance with the law or international treaties of Montenegro. What exactly this means is completely unclear, but in any case it does not apply to company directors, those who obtain a residence permit through property ownership, students or employees. In short, this does not concern Russians who come to live in Montenegro on any of these grounds. Thus, once again, we come back to the fact that you can be absent for up to 30 days, but if you notify them up, let me remind you once more, this is done very simply, you can be absent for up to 90 days. However, there is another article that interests us. Article 86, right to permanent residence. In other words, who's entitled to permanent residence. There is a large section of text there and I won't translate all of it. I'll only touch on what concerns us. So a foreigner has the right to obtain permanent residence if they have legally and continuously resided in Montenegro for 5 years, being absent during this period for no more than 10 months in total, or no more than 6 months consecutively. Note that you can obtain permanent residence if you have lived in Montenegro for 5 years with a residence permit based on some grounds that can be maintained for a long and continuous period. These are, first and foremost, residence permits based on property ownership and, well, primarily 2 types. Residence permit by property ownership and residence permit by company. And here's something interesting. Let me repeat. You can be absent for no more than 10 months in total, or no more than 6 months continuously. In other words, it says here that you can obtain the right to permanent residence if you have been absent for no more than 6 months. But at the same time, Article 65 states that you can be absent for a maximum of 90 days, and even then, you have to notify the MAP. So, it turns out there's a clear discrepancy between these 2 articles of the law. It's as if whoever wrote it simply didn't pay attention to this. In one it says you can be absent for up to 90 days, while in the other it says you can be absent for up to 6 months and still retain your right to permanent residence. However, if you have been absent for more than 90 days, then based on Article 65, your residence permit can be revoked. There you have it. So what does this mean? It means that it's best to follow Article 65, which states that you can be absent for a maximum of 90 days. And don't forget you need to notify them up about this. And what else is interesting? The law does not single out or grant any privileges to specific citizens. For example, you might hear the opinion that this doesn't apply to company directors, that directors can be absent as much as they want and their residence permits won't be revoked. But the law does not say that. The law applies to everyone. In other words, it doesn't matter on what basis you received your residence permit, you can be absent for a maximum of 90 days, otherwise you might simply face an interruption when renewing your residence permit. But there are things that don't quite fit within the framework of the law, but that are practiced in Montenegro. In reality, directors of companies currently do not have their residence permits revoked. This cannot be explained on the basis of the law. It's not just me who can't explain it. I've discussed this with officials, that is, with employees of the MUP. I ask, why is it that property owners who have been absent for more than 90 days have their residence permits revoked, but company directors do not? They say, well, I don't know. That's the order we received. That's just how we work. So, indeed, company directors can now be absent for as long as they want. I have several clients who haven't lived in Montenegro for 2, 3, or even on person even 6 years. They simply come every year to renew their residence permit, and it gets renewed for them without any issues, without any problems. That's how it is. However, nevertheless, I can't say for certain that it will always be this way because it's not specified in the law. According to the law, breaks can be imposed, and for example, property owners are indeed monitored for how many years, or rather, how much time they have been absent. So, if the absence exceeds 90 days, their permit is indeed interrupted. It is quite possible that someday the MUP will operate in the same way with those who obtain the residence permit on the basis of opening a company in Montenegro. Therefore, the only guaranteed way to be eligible for permanent residence in the future is to strive to meet the legal requirements I have just mentioned. That is, to be absent from the country for no more than 90 days in a single year, making sure to notify the MUP about it, and no more than 10 months in total over 5 years. That's all from me. Thank you all for your attention, and goodbye.